In this demonstration, we're going to review Cisco's Intelligent Automation for Cloud solution set, whereby we're going to pretend that we're a user after provisioning a new service from a self-service portal offered by our newScale platform. That newScale platform, that self-service portal, is going to interact with the Tidal Enterprise Orchestrator to go and interact with, on its own level, as an orchestration tool, UCS Manager, Tidal Provisioning Server, and, for example, VMware vCenter, to provide us a new SQL Server as part of the solution. So let's go ahead and log into that platform now. So this is the actual sort of self-service portal login page. As I actually process my login, we're going to be forwarded on to a sort of a dashboard that provides us with information about what virtual machines are in place today that I'm responsible for, what requisitions I've made for past IT capabilities, and of course an option to go and review and search for new capabilities that I might be interested in acquiring. So I'm going to go and search for SQL Server. This is going to take me to a list of optional services that I can subscribe or requisition within the infrastructure. So let's go ahead and click on this virtual database server. Maybe I'm a developer. I need a new virtual database server for a development instance. So let's go ahead and process this request. We get an overview of what that service is, but I can go click Proceed to Order. In this scenario, you can see information about myself is already pre-populated into the environment. I am Robert Customer, my email address, etc. And when I go and say that this is part of an existing funded project, I immediately get this drop-down that allows me to, for example, put in my project code. I'm going to select this first project code, and it's going to pre-populate information about this project, along with the project approvers, project manager, etc., into the fields below. So now when I look for what package I'm interested in, I'm going to click this drop-down box, and for example, I'm actually going to select Bronze as the package involved here. So now in selecting the actual server size, let's go ahead and select a small server. The server type now, we're going to select a Microsoft SQL Server. And then you can see that at this point in time the actual price for this object has been pre-populated. When I choose the network that I want that resource to be connected to, because it's part of my development project, I'm actually going to put in dev2, and then I'm going to select a quantity of 1 of these components. So let's go ahead and click 1 here. Now, as with any cloud orchestrated solution for managing virtual or physical infrastructure, we want to have an actual start date and a termination date for this resource. So we're going to select a start date. A little calendar pops up. We get the option of selecting our start date from here. I'm actually going to just select today. Click OK. That date is populated. I'm going to do the same for the end date, and let's say that for argument's sake we just want this resource for 1 week. So I'll pick the 25th of May. We click OK. We now get the option of actually naming the virtual machine itself. So let's go ahead and enter the name of this virtual machine. So Cisco Network Solution Forum, newScale, Tidal, SQL Server. Okay, and at this point in time it does a quick ratification that that is a valid VM name. We can see the information about the operating system, etc., that's going to run that server. And then at the end I see my account number and my billing plan. I'm going to change my billing plan to actual usage based, so I'm going to pay just for what I'm using for that virtual machine. One thing that we're not going to do through this demonstration is sort of go in and manipulate or monitor the actual back-end chargeback type components, but they are part of the solution at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and submit my order. And as of this point in time now, in my requisition tab of the solution, I can now see my new order. So I have my requisition number 668. I can see my name, when it was created, the submission date, and then of course the action that's being taken place. So now when we're back here at this main page, I can now see that, for example, my requisition number for this new instance, 668, is now at the very top of this list of previous requisitions that I've made. So I can see my 668, my 5/18/2011, and my virtual SQL database server listed here. So we're now going to log into the actual Tidal Enterprise Orchestrator console so that we can look at the workflows that have been kicked off as a result of that self-service job. So now that we have the console open, we can actually expand the views of what's going on within the system. We can open an activity, view all activity in the current system, and I can see right now that it's actually provisioning, as we speak, my new bronze service level Microsoft SQL Server VM in the system. So now as part of this process, we can actually expand on the individual tasks that occur as part of building this Microsoft SQL Server. Let's go ahead and expand upon that. So we can now see that as part of this task, there's a bunch of subtasks and provisioning items that are part of this, such as, for example, scheduling the actual resetting of the IP address, getting the system name, so on and so forth. Let's scale down and see or scroll down, I should say, and see the rest of these options as well. Right, we can see their current status, what state they're in, and get additional information about what time that individual job was started and what time it completed and the duration it took. So now if I click on the actual service request itself and click on the workflow tab down below, I am actually treated to a view of all of these sort of individual steps that occur as part of this workflow. So I can really quickly see all the different tasks, right, the workflows for an individual task, and everything that's identified as green is a step that's actually been completed thus far. So I can scroll through this. I can see that there's ESX hostname resources about what host this VM is going to reside upon. There's network resources pertaining to network configuration, server size category around getting the size from the workflow and provisioning the appropriate amount of storage, etc. I can, for example, observe an individual item from this workflow, look at its status, and see the individual steps that are involved in that process. Let's now switch back to the actual end user interface for the self-service portal and take a look at the status of that request in the system. So I'm logged into the user. I'm actually going to click on my items, a little more detail down below. I can already see my CNSF, newScale, Tidal, SQL server here. As this item pops up, I can actually highlight the individual object, and I can click on service item details and get additional information about that one specific request. So now if we launch and open the actual vSphere infrastructure client, we can take a look and see the result of the output from that user request. So here in our existing platform, in this one data center cluster as defined inside of vSphere, inside of vCenter, we see our actual named VM with the prefix product management, but there's the title that we gave it, CNSF newScale Tidal SQL Server, and our SQL Server VM has been provisioned for us all in a automated fashion where a user went to a self-service portal, requested the object that they desired, and all of the rest of the workflow was completely automated. All of the billbacks occur in the back end, and the VM itself has this pre-existing start date and termination date. It's a perfect example of private cloud computing.